Good morning, everyone. So today we're having a very interesting conversation with Bimpe Nkontchou, and very excited about this collaboration actually, because one of the things that we find over time is that when it comes to money matters, investment, planning for the future, legacy, women are not where they need to be when it comes to owning that conversation, when it comes to taking the steps you need to take to ensure that you are preparing for your future. And so Bimpe is the CEO and co-founder of Wealth8, which is a digital investment platform designed to connect people with investment opportunities by providing easy and affordable access to tools and information for wealth creation. What I love about what Wealth8 does is it's not just about giving you an app to download and get your money journey going. It's really about educating you. So there are things we need to unlearn, things we need to relearn, myths that we might have picked up over the years, money behaviors, money mindsets that we actually all have. We all have money mindsets. Now, the question is it serving you or is it hurting you? And I think that's part of what this collaboration is going to help uncover in a very conversational way. You're going to learn some of the things that you need to put in place, no matter where you're starting from, to help you get your money journey started right. So with that, welcome, Bimpe. Thank you for joining us today. Can you introduce yourself by saying something that I didn't read in your bio?
Oh, something you didn't read in my bio.
Yes.
Goodness. Well, I have twin boys.
Yes.
And actually, so I'm a Lagos mom as well. I've got 3 children, born and raised, well, in London, although I am from Lagos. I have a daughter who's 27, 26, and my twin boys are 24.
Yeah,
So
fantastic.
I've had to navigate, I would say the choppy waters of multitasking, motherhood, career, and learning, lots of good lessons, hard lessons along the way.
Thank you. Fantastic. Yes, so I say yeah, everybody's a Lagos mom. Once Lagos is in your DNA somehow, you were born there, you're from there, you live there. I call it Lagos to the world, wherever you are. Awesome. So today I wanted us to start this conversation because this is a series we're kicking off. And today I want to start with setting smart money goals. When it comes to setting smart goals, I'll quickly go through what the acronym means. So S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for realistic, and the T is for time bound. So if we think of that's what a smart goal is, setting a goal without some of these in it is what I call a wish, and wishes are it's just a wish. It doesn't go anywhere. You can't measure it, right? So I want to introduce that concept of setting smart money goals. If you were to take us through that, can you walk us through what it would look like to think about setting a smart money goal?
Absolutely. I mean, see, you're spot on. Said you're got to be specific and it's got to be actionable. I mean, those two things for sure. I mean, and actionable within your context, within your personal context. I think you don't need to sort of set yourself a goal that. We all want to be ambitious, but you want to know that whatever it is you're setting yourself to do, you actually can work towards it, whether within a year, whether 3 or 5 years. I think so. Attainable doesn't mean it's going to be attainable next week. There's no magic wand, but attainable means you do understand why you're doing it and the fact that this is the horizon by which you want to measure the success of that specific goal. So take, for example, I'd like to touch on a few goals. I would say my top 5, to be honest. Number 1 is building an emergency fund. And you have to always know and I say it's whether you're a young adult, whether you're a working mom, household mom, building an emergency fund, basically saving 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses and having it tucked away but accessible, not under your mattress. I'm just kidding. But in a place where if you need to reach it, even if it's you put it in some sort of savings account or investment fund, something that you can within say 24 hours liquidate and have access to. It's very important. And why is it? Because life is full of unforeseen happenings. Some are happy happenings, some are not. Whether it is medical bills, whether it is funeral expenses, we're all where we're from, whether it is a near person or dear person or not so near person, we all tend to contribute and support other people, whether it's funerals, weddings, medical bills, car repairs, job loss, for example. It might take you, 3 to 6 months to find that next job, but you want to know that you've got that buffer, that security blanket. That's number one. And it's a specific, and if you haven't got it today, I think you would need to definitely get a back of an envelope and tot up what it is you spend every month, whether it is from your mortgage to rent, household groceries, um, car hire, payments, or what have you, and put them all together and say, right, I spend £3,000 a month. Therefore, I need to have at least nine, if not 18,000 or even 15,000 tucked away somewhere. And if you haven't got it, start thinking about what it is you're going to have to do. Build that emergency fund. Paying off debt is also important, and it's also part of the journey towards building that fund. Because sometimes you've got credit cards that you have, and you think you're saving money. You've saved money, but your credit card interest rates are so high. Take that cash and pay off the credit card, because once you've paid it off, you're surprised that you're saving even more, because the monthly payments you're making on that credit card now are yours, okay, to use for yourself. So that's another way of building that emergency fund. Planning towards that goal. Paying off the highest interest is the first thing. Your mortgage is the debt, but it's good debt, because at least you're putting the money into an asset. That was the ownership of an asset. Card debt is not good debt, because it is paying for something you've already used. Most likely an intangible, whether it is, even if it's a dress, it's still intangible because it's depreciated. A holiday. So, paying off high interest debt is important. Then let's think about even, creating multiple income streams. I don't know what you think about that, Yetty, but I think, these days younger people say that have a side hustle. And you know what? Might sound like a bit of a throwaway comment, but it is important in today's world. And I think it's even easier in today's world to have multiple streams. I want everyone to think about what it is that they're doing, whether you're sitting down doing your medical doctor, whether you're a nurse, a teacher, whether you're a professional person, a lawyer, what have you. You might find that there are different avenues. You might be writing articles. You might be able to give courses at your local community college. You might be able to help people, record their house because you're good at it, and you can do it at the service every Saturday. There are lots of things that you can do. And I think that's one thing we should all not be too proud to think about. That extra street, car parks. If anybody has spare parking space in front of their house and you live in London, there are apps these days that you can download where you can actually make your parking space available. Okay, to people who are in the area who want to come shopping, and they will pay a monthly figure. There's so many things. If you like pets, if you have dogs, and you don't mind dog sitting an extra dog now and then, there's an app that you can go on and register yourself as a dog sitter and take in, that extra dog, for someone who's traveling or who's working. So there are lots of things you can do. I think people shouldn't always underestimate the fact that extra stream of income would go a long way. Little drops of water, as we say, build a mighty ocean. So saving, is one thing, but you want to have the income stream that will allow you to actually put the extra away.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that I've
Yes.
interested things there.
Yeah. So I think, thank you for sharing all of that. And, the way I'm summarizing this first step of making it a specific goal here is setting up an emergency fund. That is specific, right? Then what you've also helped with is how you can get to that goal of setting your emergency fund, right? So for some people, you've said try and calculate 3 to 6 months living expenses, whatever that is for you. And then that is the number that's measurable that you're trying to get to. And then what you've then talked about is how to make that attainable. And how to make it attainable is things such as paying off your high interest debt. So credit cards, try and pay that off as you can, because that gives you more money that you can take towards potentially your emergency fund. You want to think about multiple sources of income, right? Because that's ways to, you're the same person, you have the same 24 hours, but they're very smart ways you can create different types of streams of income now where that money is not quite passive, because I don't like that term passive income, because I don't think anything is passive. Everything requires work to set up, right? Once you've set it up, then it can become recurrent, and that's where the passive idea comes in. And then that's something that can come in. So what you've helped to say is no matter who you are, no matter where you are, even if you don't have that amount or you don't see how you can get to that amount that should be in your emergency fund, you've explained certain things you can start doing that just start to add towards, that goal of having an emergency fund.
Absolutely. If I one thing I wanted to add, and I would even say this is something I did myself, was during COVID, we all sort of spent 2 years at home where we didn't socialize as much. I suddenly realized that I had, over the years, I created a bulging wardrobe full of designer bags, shoes, the things that we say we buy to treat ourselves. I work hard, and therefore, certain times of the year when the sales are on, I've had my eye on that particular item. I bought it, and because it's a designer item, you kind of don't let go. But then suddenly you realize you're not even using it. And suddenly there are these apps that came up, whether it is Depop, whether it's for the younger generation. Nestea is an app I've used. Even there are one or two shops, in my area that will take in your vintage, as they call it, items. So whenever you have designer goods, please treat them well, whether they're shoes, handbags, coats. I'm a coat person. Treat them well, dry clean them, have them in their nice packaging, because you'll be surprised that you're retaining value. And I was able to unlock a decent six-figure sum from my wardrobe. I just had to be unsentimental about getting rid of those items and selling them on in second-hand vintage market. And there was I unlocked a lump sum. So sometimes you have to look at that item. I haven't worn it for a year. That lovely handbag. You sit and say, "You've been good to me, but you know what? This is the store of wealth. I need to unlock it and make it work for me in other ways." So that's another thing I'd like to add to that multiple source of income. And finally, I mean, I think, go on and on, but I think it's important to think of investing for the long term, for wealth growth. Now, we talked about, something that's sustainable, something that's measurable. Whatever it is, when you've done the sums and you put away your initial emergency fund, some of you might have that already. And that's probably something you put in a savings account that's not really giving you interest, but at least preserving the capital. I think you need to think about the fact that if you start putting £100 a month or £1,000 a month or £250 a month away into something like an investment portfolio, like a stocks and shares ISA, for example. I have Wealth8, and Yetty mentioned earlier, and on the app we have different diversified portfolios of stocks and shares. But putting your money into stocks and shares is a long-term play. Right now, the whole world is, gone Trump crazy. The markets are very volatile. But honestly, the person who can sit it out, and sometimes buying low when the markets are volatile is even better. But sitting out any sort of cyclical turbulence is a long-term thing, and therefore you want to say to yourself, my goal is, whether it's my pension, which could be what you're putting money into, or just a separate portfolio. My goal is that by the time I'm 20, 25 years time, I want to have a portfolio that's worth X, and X is how much do I think I need to retire on. That monthly income you're spending now of £3,000 a month or £5,000 a month. Say you're no longer working actively. You're now maybe in your 70s. We're all aiming to work as long as possible. We want to also stop working in time to enjoy part of that wealth. When we're in good health. You want to get a portfolio or an asset that's going to give you that £3,000 a month. Whether it is real estate, which is also another way of storing wealth for the long term. And again, real estate, when the markets are falling, we don't rush out and sell the house. We keep it. We hold on to it. It's bricks and mortar. And yes, it does go through its cycles. But at the end of the day, the idea is that you're buying something that will appreciate in value for the long term. Therefore, same with investing, you want it to appreciate for the long term, such that at the end of that 30-year horizon, the 30 years is 60 years old. It comes in the blink of an eye. So don't think, oh, that's ages to come. No, trust me, I can speak for myself. It comes and you're like, what?
It comes quickly. Yeah,
if you've been putting away money that you can forget about, something that's small enough, but also big enough to make an impact later on. And there are lots of graphs online where you can put a figure in and say, at the market growth of 5% or 6% or 8%, where will this go if I put £100 a month? So that's something you should think about. That long-term, steady income growth, and your aim or your game is for retirement.
I like that. So, in kicking off this, we've really focused on two main areas that no matter where you are in the journey, you can start. If you're just starting, I'm thinking one of the tools I use with coaching is Wheel of Life. And so, all the different dimensions here, what I visualize in my head is almost putting emergency fund in the middle and thinking, what are the ways that I can add into that emergency fund, from some of the things we've talked about. And I'm sure there are so many more. If people sit down and think about what are your talents, what are your gifts, what comes easily to you, that even if you're charging a certain amount, very small amount, but it's because it's easy to you doesn't mean it's easy for everybody. Imagine you start charging for that bit by bit, and you're saying the money you get from that or the revenue you get from that is being added specifically to this emergency fund. And then perhaps it's time bound, where when you get a certain amount, that emergency fund is then going to be invested in, a long-term investment, instrument, something like that. But the point being, making it this simple helps you start. And if you have started, it helps you stay consistent, because nobody can say, I don't think I've heard the person who says they've made enough money so they don't have to make it again. So even if the only thing you take away from today is to say, I would like to have more revenue coming in from a side hustle into a fund, you can still do something. So I think there's something for everybody to take away from today. Yeah. No, thank you. Really, really practical, really long term. And the other thing you said that really stuck with me was about how time flies. And it's easy to think, oh, I have time. Yes, we have time. But the not to get too technical, but the compound effect, right, of investing a little bit day by day, every day, is doing £5 a day, £8 a day, or a week if you can, and just dropping it. It seems small, but that's a cup of coffee, that you give up, and suddenly you're putting that money elsewhere, and it's growing and working in your favor for your future.
That is so true. I mean, there's something actually called the latte effect. Basically, if you the cost of that latte, whether it's £3.50 that you spend every day on your way to work.
Yeah.
What if you just woke up early enough to make a cup of coffee and pour it into your
jug,
your coffee cup, your mobile, your portable coffee flask, and take it with you? You'd be surprised that at the end of the week, gosh, I haven't spent £3.50 every day. That's already, whether it's £15 or £20, and they could say £20 times 4 is 80. That's £80 you've unlocked a week, a month that you can put away. So being intentional in the way we spend money. I mean, budgeting is the last other thing. I have to say that it's super important. And I know it might sound boring, but I always say these days we're more cashless, so I think it's even easier to track where our money has gone.
Yes.
But I think I'm really saying that if you don't know where your money has gone, you complete for me, Yetty. You're the one who actually gave you the saying. But if you don't know, if somebody else does, or if you don't know
something about if you don't have a plan for your pound, someone else does, something like that.
Exactly.
Yes.
You don't have a plan for how you're spending. Someone else, and that someone else is the producer of the consumable that you're putting your money.
Exactly.
They've planned for how they take that money off you, whether it's through advertising, online, or in the shops. There's always something out there, pulling your attention. But if you have a budget, if you sort of say to yourself, "This is my bank statement," and I do this. I mean, I'm glad when things like Monzo and Revolut came on, because I have a Monzo account. So, and I have my main bank account. What I do every month is that I give myself pocket money. Putting a certain amount in my Monzo account every month. I want to sort of do it every 2 weeks, test myself, see how, and that money goes towards that odd cup of coffee, towards even that, sometimes, I feel like strawberries, or, I'm missing a friend for a coffee. Those things that are not really budgetable, but you're going to spend money on.
Right.
So, but because even dry cleaning, I can't sort of say this is what I'm going to dry clean this week, because I don't know what I've won, and in summer I find I dry clean more. But Monzo, I put all the things in the Monzo account that are sort of non-budgetable items, and I give myself pocket money, and I say that is it. So usually when I'm going out, I just hold my Monzo, and that's what I'm spending, because the Barclays bank account is where all my direct debits go out of. Everything, whether it's council tax, whether it's all the regular payments, grants, what have you. That's so. And then if I need to make a big spend, it has to come out of that main account, and that will make me think, because I don't have that card in my pocket. It means I've got to think about taking that other card out to go and make that big purchase. So there are tricks you can do to, because I can become quite impulsive. So my impulse has now been, the boundary of my impulse is whatever is on my Monzo.
Right. Amazing.
So that's it. So
I
give
like
yourself,
that.
little, like you said, unlearn some things and
Mm,
learn other ways of,
mm, mm,
holding back, other ways of being intentional, of tracking your
mm,
money. But bank
mm.
statements, take it every month. Even the Monzo, I could take it every month and I can
And
basically
I'll get
highlight and I go
what you
through what
did.
my money went
Mm,
towards.
love it.
And,
And
and if I decide, if this quarter I've spent a, amount on a large item, I bought clothes because it was a sale or I bought my cosmetics or what have you. The next quarter, like,
you're not.
so you've got
I
to
like
know where
that.
your money has gone.
Mm,
And even if, you spent, you splurge, you know why you splurge, when you splurge, and then you then know, okay, hold it back.
holding back next month. I love that. And I think once again, this is practical. It's not one size fits all, but you have to know yourself. And self awareness is the beginning of this journey. So I think this is a perfect place to end our first episode today. Very insightful. I learned a lot, and as you were talking, I was looking inward and thinking, what areas do I need to tweak? And it's baby steps. Let's not try to do everything at the same time. So it's back to picking your one or two top priorities. And I'd like to end this with saying everybody should think about what are you going to what are you going to start doing? What are you going to stop doing? And what are you going to continue to do more of? That is where we'll end our episode today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, send us a note, send us a question. If there's something you'd like Bimpe to answer specifically, perhaps on the next episode, feel free to drop it, and we will pick it up. So welcome to the journey of building our wealth, being intentional, and making the choices that we need to make today that seem hard, but down the line in the future, we'll look back and thank ourselves for starting when we did. So thank you, everybody. And until next time, remember, Wealth8 is an app that will help you with your money journey. You can find it on the App Store, Android, Apple, and download it to get started. Thank you.